Alright guys, so today I'm going to be talking about Binance and how to understand Binance's advanced graph and how to understand it and use it to your full advantage. So starting with it, you have your candlestick graph, which has obviously a bunch of red and green everywhere, and those represent sell and buy orders being filled. So all of the red indicators, which is like right here and here and here and all along this, are buy orders being filled. So that means that if you look here on the right, you have these buy orders, and so when prices get bought at 11.49, you can see that they're red here. They're listed as red because essentially that normally represents the price going down because current buy orders are they're being sold at that price. Then obviously you have green, which is when sell orders are being filled. So people are buying at 11.54, which is how you can see that these are green here, and when these get filled, they're red here. So they represent the exact same thing. And then of course, obviously, I think is relatively intuitive. The position of the candlestick is represented by the price, obviously, and horizontally is the axis of time. Now this axis of time can be changed up here, and so depending on how specific you want your axis, you can see exactly what happened at each minute or 5 minutes or 15 minutes, depending on how long you want to trade. If you're trying to trade very quickly and instantly within a couple of minutes, then you're going to want the quickest graph, which is 1 minute. And you can see here every time I move my mouse, it'll move by 1 minute at the bottom there, as you can see, and it'll give me a new price at every minute. And now if you change that to 5 minutes, obviously the graph will update, and then you'll see it'll change by every 5 minutes and give me a new price update every 5 minutes. And that's depending on, are you want to be trading within 10 minutes and making small profit, or trading over the course of an hour and making maybe a little bit more profit. So depending on what you're trying to do is depending on how you'd want to set that. As for your indicators up here, I normally run MACD and EMA. MACD is the moving average convergence divergence, which basically it's the momentum indicator that shows the relationship between two moving averages of prices. So almost kind of like if you were to take the two predictions of, not necessarily predictions, but two averages of the prices calculated in different ways, and show the average between those two, that's the line that you get. And then the EMA, which is the exponential moving average, essentially gives a delayed version of the price that shows a more smoother line at the end of the day. And so it makes it, using that line, you could use that to predict what it might be in the future. You can see it that this purple line is a very nice and smooth line, and that's what that represents. And then at the top right here, you have a couple of options. You have full screen, which just takes you to full screen, and you have depth, which is very useful. Depth is really good for evaluating whether or not something is worth the risk to take. So as you can see here, as we go higher in price, which is represented by these sell orders here on the right side, as you go higher in price, there's more and more orders it would take to get to those price points. And you can see here at point 0.000012, there's a huge jump, because you could see, oh no, not anymore, but alright, well at 1180 you can see there's a moderately sized jump, and that's represented by this right here, because there's a lot of sell orders. So in order to get to that price, it's going to have to clear a lot of orders, and this height is the total amount of orders it would have to take in order to get to that price point. And on the opposite, it's a buy. So how would you use this to evaluate risk versus reward? Well, you might see here, well, let's say you're considering buying right now, where you can see that it can drop down very fast. It's not going to take a lot of orders to go to a very low price. You can see here it's at 6.3. It can easily go to 5.8 with very little orders, where in here it would take the same amount of effort in the opposite direction to go to 8.2. So you can see here, well, that'll give me an increase of 20, where this will give me a decrease of 4. So you can say, well, that might be worth the risk then, because, okay, well, I could buy the risk, and the amount of effort it would take to go down 4 is the same amount of effort in the opposite direction to go up 20. And so then you could use that to evaluate risk or reward. So next we want to go into like here, which is directly what this is representative of, and it's basically, instead of it being a visual graph and representation, it's the hard numbers. And you can see here exactly how many orders at this point and how many orders at this point, and these are constantly updating and changing. Even if I were to put in an order in right now at, let's say, 1157, it would pop up. And you could have these changed by how many decimals you want. So if you want a more rounded, congested number because you're looking for maybe bigger changes, like you can see here, you have 7, 7, 1, 7, 3, 7, 4, 7, 5. If I change this up here to 7 decimals, it's going to just round it to 7. And it's going to show me all the orders at 7 and how much Bitcoin they're worth in total. And that could be used for judging more bigger movements if that's what you're looking for. If you're looking for bigger changes and not so much changes where it's just going to fluctuate and bounce back and forth, and you don't want to waste your time with those if that's not what you're looking for. Then obviously you have the sell orders, which is the opposite of the buy orders. Not much to it. And then on the right hand side is the completed order. So basically looks like this. 435 PO or 435 coin of PO just sold for 1171, now 1173, 1172, and so on and so forth. It just constantly is giving you a readout of what it is, and normally this will update before this. So you could be watching like 118 and see like, oh, is there going to be a big purchase at 118, and you can see, oh, right here, 3,000 just got taken out of 118, and this will update before this is. So when you're really trying to get that edge, you can use this to your advantage and really get the fastest bit of information from this to put your order in. And normally you want to have your order already set up, typed in, ready to go. And now moving on to that, because that's what you're gonna have, we have a limit order, a market order, and a stop limit order. So limit order is simply a buy and a sell order at a certain price at a certain amount. So for example, if I was looking to buy some PO, right? So right now it's going for 118, right? So if I were to take this, let's say I don't want to buy any right now, but let's say I'll take it and I'll go to 105. Whoops. Well, here, let's go to 8 decimals here, because I normally use the most amount of decimals, and I'd recommend that too personally. You don't want to lose out on information, but there's definitely some uses to having that. And so let's say the graph isn't indicating it right now, but I think this is going to go down to 1175, which it could be because there's a big defense at 1175. So I want to get in at 1176, right? And I'm just going to put 1 just to keep it low in case it somehow magically does happen. And when I click buy, oh, okay. So that's a good indicator right there, is that when you put in a buy order, the buy order has to be worth at least 0.001 Bitcoin, otherwise you can't do a limit order. You have to do a market order. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about, oh, should I only put in $5 just to mess around or $10 just to put around? You need to do 0.001 Bitcoin, which as of right now is worth, I'm rounding it a little bit here, about $15. So each trade needs to be at least $15 for you to put in a limit order, and that's the same thing for buy or sell. And then also you have very handy and easy to use 25, 50, 75, and 100% of how much you could buy or how much you could sell, which is useful, especially when you're trying to sell and you're trying to adjust the number quickly. If the price suddenly goes up like this, and then the amount that you can afford can go down, so you hit the 100% again. Because if you have this too high, like let's say if you set this at 188 and then I click buy, it's not going to go through because you can't afford 188 at that price. Now, a market order I would almost never recommend unless you're panic selling or panic buying, where the current price is is going to shoot up very quickly or go down very quickly, and you need to either get rid of your coin or just get some coin really quickly. But most of the time, you never know what number you're going to get exactly, and it's normally going to be a lot worse than what you wanted. So if you're buying it, you're going to get a price, like if I were to put in a market order right now, I would get a price a lot higher than 1186. If I'm looking here, I'd probably get one. Well, now it's changing, but you're normally going to get higher than that. If you're putting in a buy, you're going to overpay, and if you're selling, you're going to get underpaid. So normally not recommended unless you just really you're panicking and you need to get rid of something or you need to get your hands on something. But most of the time, trading like that isn't a good idea. Next, you're going to have the stop limit order, which is basically a more advanced limit order. So let's say you want to put in a buy order at, right, like 1201. You want to buy at 1201, right? But obviously, if you put in a buy order right now at 1201, it would just go through because it's only at 1190. Now you might think, well, why would I put in a buy order at 1201 if the price is cheaper right now? Because what you might see is, well, okay, well, there's a big defense at 1200. So you're thinking if it breaks that defense, it's going to skyrocket. If it passes 1200, it's going to go really high. But until it passes 1200, it's not going to go anywhere. So I could put in a stop order at, like here, 0.0000 1201 or 1201, right? And then I'll put and then I'll put a price. So that means that when the price of the coin hits 1201, then this order is going to be converted into a limit order. Well, what do I want to sell the coin at? Well, if I think if it's going to skyrocket, and judging by some of the past graphs, maybe I'll say 1250. So I'll put 0000 1250. Oh, that's one too many zeros. 1250, and so now it'll convert once it passes 1200, then it would buy coin at 1250. So okay, it hit 12 or 1201. Okay, then it would buy at or you can even do it would buy at 1205 or something like that. Where once it hits that price point, it'll buy, or once it hits that price point, it'll sell, and then again you can tell it how many you want to buy or sell. Next, we're going to go to the bottom middle here, which is the open orders, order history, trade history, and funds. So open orders is directly related to this, where if you currently have a limit order or stop limit order, because you can't have a market order, but you currently have a limit or stop limit order that hasn't been processed yet, so you're waiting. So if you put in a buy order at 1160 right now, you'd be waiting for that order to be completed. It's an open order. Nobody's looking to fulfill that order yet. So that would be listed right here, and the same thing with the sell order as well, and with a stop limit. Order history is basically the most information that you get about the past. So like what decisions you made. So you put in a limit order, you put in a stop limit order, which is listed here. And what coin was it? Oh, it was POE, or it was XVG, or FUN. And then okay, what were you trying to do? I was trying to sell it. It was a limit order. At what price and how many got filled? Essentially, how many did I sell? And then what was the total value of that? So you can see here that was 0.0022 Bitcoin worth. And then also the status, did it get filled? Was it canceled? Which you can obviously see through the filled prices and whatnot. And then your trade history are only the limit orders or stop limit orders that got completed, that went through and you sold or you bought a certain coin. And that's all listed right here by their times, and the fee, which is 0.1% or 0.001 or 1/1000th of whatever you're investing. So for example, if you were to go out and buy 1,000 PO right now, they would take a fee of 1 PO out of you. And then your funds are how much money you have of each currency. So obviously the currency initials, your total balance, your available balance, in order, meaning if you have a limit order or a stop limit order, that's going to be holding your money. You can't use that money while you have a limit order in. And then the BTC value is the total amount, and that's the difference between the available balance and the total balance. The total balance is the in order balance plus the available balance. The available balance is all the money you have to actually put in an order, not ones that are stuck in an order. And then last but not least, you just have the little bits of information up here, like the last price, which is really listed right here. The 24-hour change, which really you can't be seen too well right here, but if we make the graph a little bit bigger, like setting it to the 1 hour mark, we could see that from this point, which was January 4th now, in a day it's gone up 41%, which if we see here, looks about right, because it was about 846, and now it's 1163. Then we have the 24-hour high, 1550, 24-hour low, which you might be thinking, well, why doesn't it show this? Because that goes back to December 29th. That's what the price was, or technically December 28th. That's not what the price is in the 24-hour low. And then the 24-hour volume, which is basically how much total PO has been exchanged. The total amount of PO is 9,500 Bitcoin worth as of right now. That's always going to be changing, going up and going down. And then the last button is basically all the different currencies, what you can trade into, and so on and so forth. So Bitcoin has the most amount of options here. Probably have, I would guess probably around 70 to 100. That might be a high estimate. I don't know, maybe 50 to 70 different altcoins that you can buy. Obviously you have all your main ones: Ethereum, you have Litecoin, you have Ripple, you have Verge. All the ones, Bitcoin Cash. All the ones that are, as well as some of the smaller ones, and ones that are very cheap too. If we look to my favorites, I normally like to stay with the cheaper ones because they're a lot more volatile. You can see here down to 17 cents. And then these all trade into Bitcoin. So if you're looking at these graphs, for example, if I go to TMB, this is for TMB into Bitcoin. So when I put in a buy or sell order, these numbers is the amount of Bitcoin that one coin of TMB is worth. Now, let's say I don't want to trade into Bitcoin for whatever reason. You can trade into Ethereum, which I think has maybe around the same amount of options as it looks. Um, there might be a few ones that are not included here, but instead of trading through into Bitcoin because maybe you think Bitcoin's going to go down or Bitcoin's currently going down, then you trade into Ethereum, and then you'll get Ethereum instead of Bitcoin. BNB is the Binance coin, and yeah, I mean that really is just another coin. I do believe, I think maybe I think fees get converted into something different. You might not pay fees, but I wouldn't hold me to that statement. I would double check with that. And then USDT, which is essentially a coin that represents the US dollar. So one coin is always worth $1 US. So it's good where if you want to have essentially US dollar in your account without having actual US dollar, you can have a US dollar coin. I forget the exact name of it. Obviously, it starts with a T, but it can represent a dollar, and it's not going to change that coin. That coin will stay at a dollar no matter what. And so, if you're afraid that Bitcoin's going to go down, you're afraid all cryptocurrencies are going to go down, that you can throw it into USDT and be sure that if you have $100 worth of cryptocurrency, that $100 is going to stay 100 in a day from now, or a week, or a month, or a year. That it's not going to change. So I thank you for watching this, I guess, guide and explanation on how to use the advanced trading on Binance. If I missed any part, or if there's something that I didn't explain fully clearly, feel free to write down in the comments what I missed, and I'll be sure to answer it. Thanks for watching.